So, traveler, you look into the desert and want to know more about the ruby sands. Let us begin. Long before the ruby sands were known by that name, before kingdoms rose from the dunes, and before the banners of kings were ever carried on desert winds, the world itself stood at the edge of a great argument among the immortals. One of their number, Hale, looked upon mankind not as a fleeting curiosity, but as a spark that might one day rival the stars. Where others saw fragile creatures stumbling through a young world, Hale saw builders, thinkers, dreamers, and so he did what no immortal was meant to do. He reached into the minds of mortals and filled them with a vision. The vision was a tower. It rose in their dreams night after night, a black monument stretching impossibly high, carved from stone that drank the light of the sun. Men who had never met one another began walking in the same direction. Tribes abandoned hunting grounds. Entire generations gave their lives to a single labor, and slowly, through sweat, blood, and stubborn faith, they built the obsidian campanile, a tower so tall that its shadow crossed valleys and its peak vanished into the clouds. When the immortals saw what had been done, their fury shook the heavens. Hale had broken their most sacred law. Mortals were not meant to be guided so directly. They were not meant to reach toward the sky with such ambition. The tower was proof that humanity could become something far greater than any immortal had intended. Many demanded that the tower be destroyed and that the humans who built it be erased from the world entirely. But Hale would not abandon them. He pleaded before the immortal host, arguing that humanity had only done what it was inspired to do, to build, to strive, to reach beyond what seemed possible. A few among the immortals listened. They saw not defiance in the tower, but courage. And though the majority would not spare mankind from punishment, those few refused to allow the race to be wiped away. The compromise that followed changed the course of history. The tower would not remain a beacon of human ambition. The people who built it would be driven away from the lands they had claimed. Their civilization would be broken and scattered, yet they would live. The immortals who had shown mercy took upon themselves a quiet duty. They would guide these exiles across the world like unseen winds. And so the survivors marched west. Generations passed beneath open skies. Children were born who had never seen the great tower their ancestors built. Tribes wandered through forests older than memory, across rivers wider than seas, through mountains that clawed at the heavens. Yet stories remained. Around countless fires, elders whispered of the campanile, the tower that once touched the sky, and the immortal who believed humanity could become something greater. Nearly 9 centuries passed before the wandering finally ended. The descendants of those ancient builders returned to the place where it had all begun. The obsidian campanile still stood, black and silent against the horizon. Time had scarred it. Storms had battered it. But the tower endured. Those who had come back did not kneel before it. They did not worship it. Instead, they studied it. They measured the stones, examined the carvings, and argued late into the night about how such a thing could have been built. Curiosity replaced reverence. Knowledge replaced myth. From those discussions, a new order of thinkers was born, scholars who believed that understanding the past would unlock the future. They called themselves the Union of Ash, for they believed all great things rise from what once seemed destroyed. This was the dawn of the first 1,000 years remembered in the histories of the Ruby Sands. Humanity had survived the judgment of the immortals. It had wandered across the world and returned to the shadow of its greatest achievement. And though the desert that would one day bear the name Ruby Sands had not yet been shaped by fire from the heavens, the forces that would forge that land had already begun to move. For when mortals learn to question the world, when they begin to study the mysteries around them rather than fear them, history begins to accelerate. Empires are born, magic is discovered, and sometimes the sky itself falls. But those are stories for another 1,000 years.